so bad in my stomach to throw up bile and there's nothing there. So,
No, go ahead, because I got so many questions, but go ahead.
no, before I go ahead, question.
Your drive. You have a drive.
I do.
Do you consider yourself an overachiever?
Do I think I'm
And there's a reason why, when I say overachiever, I'm talking about your drive to keep going, no matter what's going on with you. You got a drive to keep going that's unstoppable.
Yes, yes. I mean, I do have just a drive to keep going no matter what happens. No matter who says, who does, what it looks like, my drive. I had it then, I have it now, but there's a difference. The difference is then I didn't know how to handle, I did not deal with my inner emotions about what was going on then and what had gone on before. So,
what was going on then and what had gone on before? Explain that. What do you break that down?
well, in my book I talk about I had a fear of loss.
That was then, or was that now?
That was then. I still had fear of loss then. It was still there.
Okay.
I didn't know it was there.
Okay.
But it was there. So since then I've understood, and I've really reached into myself in writing the book. I mean, it's just you find out so many things about yourself. I found out about the things that I was holding in my subconscious. I found out about things I was holding in my unconscious, and it's just laid dormant there, and it was affecting me physically, but not realizing that it was even there. And that's how a lot of people do. They don't even know it's there.
So what you did was you took time and you stopped. Well, you had to stop.
I stopped.
You didn't have a choice.
Right.
You stopped. So what you did was you just peeled every layer
I did.
of Chris Black.
I did.
Every single letter from day one.
I did.
Did you go all the back from day one to when you could remember?
I did. I went all the way back. And it's in my book. I mean, I went all the way back as far as I could remember. And I was 2 years old. And I remember being with my mother and I was crying. And we did not have food. And so subconsciously and unconsciously, I never wanted to be in that place again. I never wanted to have a feeling like I didn't have.
That's your drive. That's where your drive started with you at 2 years old.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
That's your drive.
So that, at that point, in the hospital I started dealing with a lot of things, and fear of loss is one of those things. And I didn't know why I was having an issue with certain things.
Where did the fear of loss come from? Do you know where that came from?
I do.
Okay.
It came from the loss of my mother. My mother died when I was 9. And I'm the oldest.
Oldest of how many?
5.
Okay.
So I'm the oldest boy. And so, only thing my father said to me when my mother passed away is, son, you're the oldest, take care of your brothers. That's it. He didn't allow me to grieve. He didn't, and he was doing the best that he could. He just didn't know any better. So I didn't cry. Didn't cry at the funeral. Didn't any at all. The same. Then 2 years later, her mother, my grandmother, passed away too.
How did you handle that death?
I didn't cry either. My stepfather raised me from, so his mother, whom I was very close to, she passed away too, a couple years after that.
So this is from 9 until when?
16.
From 9 until 16, you had 3 major deaths.
4.
Oh, gee.
My biological mother passed. So between 9 and 16, 4 close women at some point in my life all passed away.
And you never shed a tear.
Never did. I never did. I didn't grieve it. I didn't grieve it. So that's something else I talk about, how people, they don't grieve the situations that happen in their life, and it's their past. You have to grieve your past in order to successfully move forward.
Do you think, just in your life, that fear manifested itself in you?
Oh, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, most definitely. You know, negative energy in your body, you know, starts from the thought about it. It goes from the brain, and that message emits information into your body, whether good or the bad. You know, I have a saying: think better, feel better. So when you have those moments, when you thinking those negative thoughts, then you say, man, my stomach. There's nothing physically wrong with you. So let's go back further. When you were a kid and you thought you was gonna get a whooping.
We don't want to talk about that.
What happened?
You got scared.
You got scared. You got to go to the bathroom.
Oh, you got to do everything. You can't sit still. You trying to find somewhere to go. Trying to hide the belt. All of that.
So your physical, I mean, the spiritual in your words manifest physically. Yeah. It's no joke. You know, people that grow up, and I grew up in church and all that, and you hear those things, but literally, your body operates that way. It does. You know, so while I was in the hospital, go to the hospital, and things just started to happen little by little. Things just started to fail. It was just, you know, it was unbelievable. It was really unbelievable. It was like my life had declined to an infant state. Because now here I am, laying in a hospital. I can't wash myself. So somebody is washing me every day. So that's a humbling experience to somebody come and watch.
Just going to ask you, how did that make you feel, knowing this is Chris Black and I can do everything? I am unstoppable. I am the man. I'm just it. And now you're laying in the bed, darling.
Right.
And you can't even wash yourself. What went through your mind?
Fear.
Oh, back to the fear thing.
Back to the fear.
We're back to the fear thing. We're back from when you were 9, when it all started.
Yeah, because in your mind, in my mind, it's like, you know what? I play the bass. That's what I do. I'm a businessman. That's what I do. I solve problems for people. That's what I do. But now I can't do anything. Because somebody has to do it for me. And so I was always the type of person that I really didn't want you to do it for me. Because I wanted to do it.
But you couldn't.
But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And going back to the fear of loss from the women, it started with the women. It went out to other things. An example, I did not have great relationship with women. I didn't. I did.
Now I'm just gonna put my little 2 cents in here.
I did not.
This a fine brother.
So,
always has been. Can you see that? I'm just saying. Okay.
So what would happen in relation? I would be in a relationship, and I called it fade to black because I would just fade away. You wouldn't hear from me again. You don't know what happened to me. I wouldn't call you no more. And you would just see me out somewhere and like, hey, Chris Black. I'd be like, hey, what's going on? Like nothing ever happened.
That was you?
My silence was the answer. I manipulated the situation through not talking. I learned how to do that. That's what I did. So I remember a situation, and I never wanted a woman. I didn't want a woman about me nothing, ever. I was never that guy. I had women who wanted to take me shopping. I didn't want it. I don't want you to do it for me because I never wanted to feel like you had some kind of control over me.
So is it safe to say, I'm just asking, that you are one of those control people?
I was. Because I have a chapter.
And you had to control everything around you?
I had to control it. I have a chapter called I Want Control. And I talk about how my control contributed to my sickness, how it contributed to my way of life. You know,
Can you give us just a little? I don't want to take. Just give us a little of that, just because that's interesting.
well, I mean, for instance, like in business, if you're coming to work for me in business, I know my job and your job. I know everybody's job.
Right.
And the reason why is because I don't want you to feel like you can get up and leave and I need you.
Well, I know that's right.
So if you leave, I'm cool because I know your job too. And my job.
Chris, where's the feeling? I'm a female, okay?
Okay.
I'm coming to you and listening to you. I never got that from you, even though you and I would sit and talk
Right.
for hours on ends. I mean, we would have some really deep conversations. I always saw your heart,
Right. Right.
but I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you. You didn't display a heart.
You know, all of what you saw was actually there. But everything that I'm explaining to you was all of the fear operating. Fear has a way of guiding you in places that you really don't want to go. It becomes your compass. Fear is that invisible place in front of you that make you say something that is really not you, but it's about survival. It becomes your survival mechanism.
So you were just basically a walking shell.
I was.
Basically, a walking shell.
I was.
And nobody could get in, no penetration, no, this is, and you're not going to get past this right here.
And that's how I did to women. If you got close to me, then that was my sign to walk away. Because now you're too close.
How did you get married?
I got over it. Well, yes. Being in the hospital made me start to realize that. Now, I wasn't perfect in that, but I started to start my process of starting to heal. Because while in the hospital, you know, again, that's when I started to realize about the fear of loss of my mother, to start to grieve it, to start to do all those things as I was just laying in the bed. I mean, I wasn't going anywhere. I couldn't walk, you know, I couldn't feed myself. And then also, I couldn't watch TV. You know, my eyes gave up.
It affected I didn't know that. It affected everything about you.
It affected my, you know, your eyes are like two lenses.
Right.
You know, they're supposed to operate together, you know, focus together. They start trying to focus independently of one another. So when you would look, everything would just be blurred.
So that's part of your senses. So what sense was heightened during that time?
A sense that was how I think it was my awareness. My awareness started to hype about the things that I had been doing, things I had been going through. That started to hype. That was the point of my life when I actually started to really change for real. Because all the physical things, all of the, I guess, the mental things that had been happening before was now all manifested physical. And it was displaying itself through my body. I ended up getting something, the hiccup disease, while I was in the hospital.
What is that?
You just hiccup and you can't stop. There's no cure for it. You just hiccup. And so in the hospital, they can give you medicine and it just kind of knocks you out. But if you're in the street, you know, you still take medicine, but they can't give you the higher doses because you still have to function, you know. So they gave me that. And the interesting thing, I still had a sense of humor. You know, I still had all of that. And by this time, I'm in the hospital. Eating was not an enjoyment for me, to say the least. You know how hospital food tastes.
Yeah.
Imagine the hospital food dumbed down to a zero. Imagine that. So, you know, they only could give me certain foods. So it turned out that I could take Jell-O
And you can keep that down, no issues, no nothing.
But it had to be red Jello.
Your body
Had to be red.
could only take a certain color
Yes.
of Jello?
I'm telling you. And
Oh my God.
I don't know if she's here, but Greta, she would bring me red Jello. That's what she would do. Greta Jordan. Because that's what my body would take. She'd bring me red Jello. So I was having these hiccups, and so the doctors, first they give me water. Didn't work. Then the doctor said, well, put sugar, and I had never heard this, put sugar on your tongue and just swallow it. Have y'all heard that before?
No.
I'd never heard that in my life.
Okay.
I haven't heard it since then. They said, put sugar on your tongue and swallow it, and it'll go away. Well, it didn't work. So what I did was, I said, you know what? I think if I eat a Reese's peanut butter cup, it'll go away. I was joking, you know. I said, a Reese's peanut butter cup, it'll go away. I said it a couple times. And they joked with me, and they said, okay, we're going to bring you one just to appease you. We're going to bring you one. So they did, and it went away. Now, they was like, that's just a fluke. Now, it came back probably, I don't know, 5-6 hours later, somewhere. So they said, well, eat another one. And I ate another one, and it went away. So they brought me the biggest Reese's peanut butter pack you can find in the room. So every time the hiccups will come back at that point, they would give. So the doctor's trying to explain it to me why. You know, they don't know.
Right.
So this is what he says. He says, well, it's the combination of the peanut butter and the chocolate going down your esophagus.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now.
Yeah,
you don't have a clue what's going on.
Okay.
You don't know. So that's, to this day, I still love Reese's peanut butter cups.
Okay.
But they test me for everything they can test me for. Not being able to walk, you know, my eyes, the hiccups, all of that stuff. They went through so many things until one day the doctor came in and said, well, I think you got MS. And he said it kind of jokingly, like, I think you got MS. I was like, okay. I really didn't know what it was, you know. We think you got MS, so, you know, walks like a dog, barks like a dog, is a dog. That's what he said. I said, okay, all right, MS. So I'm hearing him say this MS, but in my mind I'm like, I don't even know what it is, but whatever it is, I don't got it.
Okay.
So they continue on with these tests and all of this, and so now the doctor comes and say, listen, we're going to have to change the floor that you're on to the rehabilitation floor because you're not going to get better. We have to prepare you for life like this. That's what he said. You know, so here I am, bass player. They brought my bass to the hospital to see if I could play it. I couldn't even put my hand around it. Couldn't do it. So they changed me to a different floor and to start retraining me how to walk. So they put the big weight belt around me. 2 guys would come pick me out the bed. And they would sit me on this walker. And my bed was closest to the hospital. I'm closest to the door. Not far. But when I tell you it was hard to get from the bed to the door just in 2 or 3 steps, oh my God. You know, I didn't know if I was going to walk or not. You know. So that